All right, welcome back to Terra Invicta. This is the episode where we roll out our endgame ships and hopefully get the Exodus underway. There's a couple of economic updates to give, but first I was asked to give a brief summary of where Earth is at. So I'll click through. This is the European Union. With some new environmental technologies, we can now all go all the way up to 9.9 plus, which I think should neutralize all emissions. So we're mixing boost, unity, knowledge, environment, welfare, and economy. Nice balanced profile for the European Union. At this stage of the game, we don't need output out of Earth as a matter of urgency, although boost will always be useful. We're positive right now. We'll be negative again once I think some of my residence modules complete. The Eurasian Union's got more, which we now fully control after the servants tried to coup it and mess with it. That gave us an opportunity to take the whole thing back. So it's going through an environmental shock therapy at the moment because its economy is still very emissions heavy. We've still got the expanded Central Asian Union, which is what happens when Kazakhstan expands slightly. China is almost there in terms of max environment rather. Other than that, building out a little additional mission control and boost. As the economy slowly expands, its mission capacity does as well. And we've merged in the island of Taiwan. So 1.55 billion people there. India has just gone through a coup which has cleaned the slate, so we're going to have to rush in there soon. Everyone was fighting at a massive unrest level. As you can see, not in the best shape, and was very divided in terms of public opinion. So we'll see which powers are able to rush in. We've got Pakistan. I haven't gone we don't need space defences. There we go. We'll be doing environment unity boost. Unity important everywhere for maximising our influence income and also driving back servant popularity. And then we've got investment profiles in the Gulf states, Egypt, Sudan, Algeria, and Morocco. We can merge if needed. We just don't need to yet. And the idea is we're just steadily, every month, we're knocking the servants out of 1 or 2 points until they have less and less influence. And finally, the United States and North America. Mission control whenever the economy expands, boost otherwise, environment's almost maxed out. The US is basically at an ideal state, so we can afford to mostly spend on boost and mission control once we've got a few things sorted out, primarily that last little bit of environmental build out. But generally speaking, the US is in perfectly functional shape. All right, let's go to space. I built our additional nano station just for some steady income because selling off fizzles all the time was getting a little intense, and I'd rather the deficit be a little bit narrower, at least until we get more hospitals up. If we go to the Jovian system, I've established this. This is Mass Effect Station. You saw nothing. And it has the helium-3 mine, which means these things that we can now build, the heavy fusion reactor farms, which generate 900 power each, don't cost any fissile materials. The helium-3 mine eliminates the fissile cost to build and maintain heavy fusion reactor farms, and it also removes fissile materials from a whole bunch of our potential fusion reactors, which is excellent. I'm grabbing some additional technologies, climate change, mitigation, Z-pinch techniques. I'm researching the next level of inertial confinement fusion reactor, which is the 6. Then we'll go for the 7, which is the big kahuna reactor. Advanced plasma batteries for our battle stations, and interstellar launch facility, which costs 400 exotics, should be ready in February 2040, so just a couple of months. We have way more research output than we need, but I'm not going to start culling it until we're well and truly in those objectives. So the key step right now is what we do with our battle fleet, which at the moment is docked around Io. There are additional fleets in construction. I think there's one in construction around, you can see the Sort of escorts is still here for security duty, along with those reinforcing capitals, or some of those reinforcing capitals. They're basically here to make sure we don't get backstabbed in Jupiter and lose all of our valuable infrastructure. It's the capitals that are actually going to go out and make something happen. This fleet consists of a mixture of ships, as you saw. So we have Marines, we have missiles, we have big honking lasers, we've got siege coils, we've got everything, and a whole bunch of Delta V to play with. I think the go, reviewing some of the comments and doing some thinking myself, is that we try and break up the alien fleets. We could bash straight into them. Oops, there we are. We could bash straight into this 107 ships at 617, but I'm instead going to try and break them apart by going into the Saturn subsystem and seeing if we can pinch some fleets. Now, the question is, which moon do we go for first? And I don't think we're going to have a clue as to which... No, we don't. We want these. Oh, we do have a bit of a clue. Okay. So my question is going to be, where are their most valuable research sites? Is it Titan? I don't think it is. I think in terms of volume, although if we do get Titan, one, it's in the outer ring. We'd have to bypass one moon, but we could go for another. If we lay a base down on Titan, the atmosphere should protect it. Although we've only got platforms. Okay. I think this might be a go. I mean, we can see a whole bunch of ships are maneuvering around. Looks like they're setting up to fight us more in the outer solar system. I think we try and attack this. Outer edge. I think that's the go. We go straight for Stalwart Station. We burn only 168 of our DV to get there in 13 weeks. We'll arrive in April. And then that way we have enough Delta V in reserve to bail and evacuate if we need to. But as it is, we should be able to pinch off a small fleet, destroy the station, land Marines on the mine, and then decide how we proceed from there. And hopefully, if we can get a decent number of exotics out of that, our fight in the Saturn zone, if you like, should get us to that 400 exotics mark, plus whatever we spend on other ships in the meantime. That way, when other Titans come online in the inner solar system, eventually we can move in and squeeze together the alien stations that remain in the asteroid field. So there is a force over here at 250 Patina, also potentially a good target. In fact, maybe is that a better target? That's the question. Because it can't be reinforced. No, I think we go fight in Saturn with this one. We put together a second Titan fleet and we use the second Titan fleet. Or this group here, Jovian Response, which is going to Earth right now, which we've been using as our inner solar system raiders. I think we leave the asteroid belt to them and we send the first Titan fleet out here and try and stretch that alien fleet resource base. All right, I think that's the go. And through a little bit of time travel, I've just gone back because I realized I did not show the moment. I just run this not for real. That proton, this is like the end of the fusion tree right here. I just wanted to show this technology because it's kind of insane. Deploy a team.
It was Bertrand Russell who defined the distinction between knowledge by description and knowledge by acquaintance. Soon, so very soon, our understanding of distant worlds will not stem from mere readings and photographs, but instead from walking upon alien soil. Director Khalid Al-Ashgar, Project Exodus press briefing.
I just wanted to flag that one of the apex technologies in the entire tech tree has a Project Exodus quote. Press briefing materials for Project Bifrost. So I don't think you can get to... You could get to Interstellar Launch Facility before getting to this technology by going the Animator route, which we did, which is interesting. But this basically is the king form of fusion, proton-proton fusion, and it lights the way, so to speak, for inertial confinement 6, and then eventually inertial confinement 7, which we're going for. And bingo, Interstellar Launch Facility. Construction of this module initiates construction of the interstellar starship. Once complete, we may send one of our counselors here to launch the ship on its journey. We'll need 5,000 volatiles, 11,000 metals, 6,000 nobles, 400 exotics. Even at the moment, the 5,000 volatiles is looking like a bit of a big ask, considering we are down to 8.3, and it's just the slabs and slabs and slabs of adamantane we're slathering on these Titans. But it is what it is. We also might have a bit of an MC squeeze, but we can reduce that by reducing the number of mines over the limit we are, because we're currently spending 98 additional mission control running additional mines, because might as well use the limit we've got, but can dial that back if we need to. Also got about 200 MC worth of ships in construction and 150 additional MC in the pipe. I think we're going to build this thing in Earth orbit. We'll build it in Earth orbit because when we send a counselor up, we want to be able to go direct to orbit rather than have to fly them out somewhere, because only a counselor can actually launch the vessel. So if we look at if we look at the station list in orbit, there's nothing hostile that we can borrow. So I think we're going to need to specifically build a new one, I think. Low Earth orbit is not full. So we can call this Bifrost Station. That gets us to 3,600 power generated against 830 power requirement. I think we're pretty much there. We'll add a couple of extra media centers, because might as well. That gets us to 1,100 used against 3,600. And the interstellar launch facility, oh no, it's 5,000 power. I had that way wrong. I had in my head 2,000 power. All right, well, that's simple enough. We're just going to reverse some of these.
Challenger Houston, you dropped out there.
Refund those constructions. 1, 2, 3, 4. 7,200 power generated against 1,000 requirement. Gives us 6,000 spare. Enough to power this thing. Cancel the construction of that shipyard, and the interstellar launch facility can go right there.
It did? Yeah. When I picked up my glove. Okay, Bob, the only thing
All right, I think that's the go. And then we'll replace, I think just to be thematic, we'll replace one media center with a command center. So we've got the media to cover the launch, we've got the power generators, we've got defense, we've got Marines to provide security and crowd control for the people coming through. A company of Marines is enough to control 4,000 people. I don't think we need a battalion. Actually, no, we have media on board. We have media on board. And we'll replace that military science research center with another agricultural complex. All right, this will do. This will do. It'll be able to defend itself. It's got media to cover it. It's got crowd control and security. It's got a shipyard. It's got a whole bunch of power generation. That's going to be the station that launches our colony ships the moment we have the resources to do it. It shouldn't be that long. And there it is, the big reactor. Inertial Confinement Fusion Reactor 7. This thing is ridiculous. It's going to take exotics to build the thing, but this is the most ridiculous fusion reactor in the game, and it's not even close. Maximum output, 306.4 terawatts, 0.002 tons per gigawatt, 99.9% efficient. So 0.1% of the energy generated by this thing gets turned into waste heat. That is a ridiculous reactor, and then we'll get a ridiculous engine to pair with it, and we'll have something to augment our antimatter designs. Although at the moment, volatiles is probably going to gate us more than antimatter. Once this stocks up to about 5, I'll start another fleet. At the moment, the Earth Titans are starting to form up. This is the kernel of the new Earth Titan fleet. There's 10 ships ready so far. Once that bulks out a little bit more, they'll be ready for independent operations as well. Okay, Task Force Felice has arrived, and we don't have a welcoming committee, which means it's worth, let me just hide this for a moment. Let's jump over to Saturn and see how the aliens have decided to play this. Is there still a fleet around this moon? There is not. Okay, so they've bailed, they've decided not to resist. Let's have a look at the fleet list for Saturn. We have 30 vessels. Interesting. So the aliens have congregated. They've responded by death stacking into a 62 and 18 docked at 2 separate stations around Tethys. Tethys and Dione. I think if they grouped those 2 fleets together, they'd be in better shape. But I'm tempted to go. Smack into Victor 1381 or Victor 205. That's a battleship heavy lineup. 13.1 combat power. Resplendent Fury battle cruiser. 768 centimeter violet laser cannon. Destroyers. Favorable wind class frigates. A whole bunch of escorts. What's the predatory star? Okay. All right. So I knew this was a thing, and apparently we're now seeing it. The aliens don't start with their best weapons. they upgrade through several tiers. Not every weapon system goes through the same number of upgrades, but their lasers, I think, go orange, then you see oranges and violets, then you start seeing X-ray lasers, and eventually, I think, gamma lasers as well, which are just ridiculous, like ludicrous. Ludicrous weapons. This looks like they're tier 2 torpedoes. Predatory Star. 25 Gs of acceleration. 19.4 delta V, and a targeting range of 1,200 kilometers. This is just better than anything we can build. They can engage from beyond the range of our longest range weapons. They have insane, like truly insane acceleration. 25 Gs, the fastest we can make a ship go is 4. I think our torpedoes are like 9 Gs of acceleration from memory. This is insanity. So they've started rolling out the better stuff. Good on them. I think we take out this station, may as well, drop the Marines, and then if they don't group these two fleets up, I think we try and take them, I think we try and defeat them in detail. Grab the exotics we can, and then run when we need to. The only question is, do we go really ambitious and try and hit the bigger fleet first? The reason I'm tempted to try and pinch some small ones off is a lot of these ships would really benefit from some officer promotions. Like, if you have a look at the Jovian response fleet, some of these ships have really huge officer lineups at this point. If we look at one of the... Do we have a Pelican? Pathfinders. Yeah, there we are. This is an example. So this is a Pathfinder, which is a form of very, very, very long-range Pelican. This thing has a 960-centimeter ultraviolet arc laser cannon, half as effective nominally as the weapons that our top-tier version of the Exodus-class ships use, because it fires half as fast. However, it has a commanding officer, which increases the damage of all weapons by 2% and reduces the mission control cost. Level 1 officer. Level 3 directed energy officer boosts the damage of laser and particle weapons by 30% and the chances of cutting through ECM by 30%. So we're at a 32% damage bonus, which for a laser is huge. Remember, your increase in how much you're actually going to kill the enemy is not linear. Double the damage, you will kill them more than twice as quickly because you're also doing a bunch of damage through armor that you previously couldn't do. Damage control officer, which reduces internal damage the system takes and increases the rate at which they're repaired. Intelligence increases damage on all weapons except nuclear and antimatter missiles by another 15%. And then there's the supply officer, which increases resupply speed. Not particularly important. But if you can rack up these kind of officers on a ship that has a 960-centimeter phaser cannon and a bunch of advanced laser engines, it's just going to slap in terms of the amount of combat power you can put on the field within the ship limit. So I want to try and duplicate the effect that this veteran fleet and all of these ships are officered up, which is why this group of Dreads and Lancers is way overperforming what it's got going. So there's a reason I'm keeping them in the fight and continuing feeding them with fizzles, because they're just going to continue outperforming as those officers promote. One thing I might want to do is they arrive in Earth in 16 July. You can swap officers, as long as officers are above level 1, you can swap them between ships. They just lose a rank. So a 2 becomes a 1, a 3 becomes a 2. You can't transfer level 1 officers. I'm considering parting out the Jovian response fleet, ripping off a bunch of those officers and slapping them on the Titans that are coming out from Earth soon, or as we speak. But that's a decision to make in July. For now, let's go bash this station. Nothing fancy here, just going to keep the velocity relatively low. I've pulled in the radiators because we don't need the heating. We just don't want to take any critical damage to them, even if there's a low chance of tin droplets being hit. And then we've allocated primary targets across different stations. But it looks like that's not really going to matter, because those UV phasers that start firing as soon as anything's within 1,000 kilometers range, they're killing these stations before the siege core rounds can arrive. That's dramatic. That's incredibly brutal. So the only thing we'll take is a little bit of plasma tickling on our stations. But the damage here is just brutal. 1 battle station remaining. So with laser engines, apparently even at 1,000 kilometers, those big chunky nose UV phasers can cut straight through station armor. Functionally, no damage there. I could assault the hab, but I'd rather use the Marines on the surface base because I don't think we'll get many resources out of Stalwart Station, and this is instant. So let's blow the station, and then let's drop Marines, I think. I'll think about this because either we drop Marines or we go straight for another fleet fight and we jump back out to this moon. I'm just worried if we spend 6 days dropping Marines, the aliens might respond. Yeah, it's only 1.95 days at a 90... I can spend basically nothing and get there in 2.5. I don't think we drop the Marines. I think we go for the fleet while we have the opening. Okay, we should be able to see the transfer. And intercept. All right. Now, they do have the station for defense. Oh, Mr. Banerjee's annoyed with me. You know, I'm just going to give him a technology and take some boost for him to make him go away for a bit. He's angry because I'm taking his control points. But I want them to make more boost with. All right, I'll give him something to make him happy just because it's not worth dealing with his agents most of the time. I'd rather just leave them to resistance, humanity first, etc. Okay. The thing is with this battle is, do we expect that we're going to want to engage the 60 fleet immediately after? If so, I'm not allowed to spend my missiles. I think the answer is we have to hold our missiles in reserve, and we have to beat this using just lasers and magnetics. But I think we can do that. We even have a combat power advantage. That never happens. So I think we just wall it up straight into their face. The good thing is, we're very lucky. So these battleships are old. They're orange. They're orange lasers, not violets or X-rays. So most of these battleships, the Eternal Dream class battleships, these were the things that, you know what these are? These are what the aliens started building when we started crushing them with missiles again and again and again. This is the kind of ship the aliens build when they panic because of the amount of missiles you're building. It is a whole bunch of small orange laser batteries that can pick your magnetics and whatnot out of space. The only thing I'd change about the design is I'd swap some of those orange lasers out for actual PD. But this is that generation. Yeah. All right, we can make this go away. We're going to make this a slow closing speed battle. We're going to pull in radiators because I don't want to drift in range of the station before we're ready. Other than that, though, I don't see any small ships, so we shouldn't be dealing with flankers. This should just be our siege coils go out and everything dies. The aliens are full burning towards us. Interesting. Okay. Well, hopefully the siege coils do the job. Marine vessels are in the back. Siege coils out. I might actually show this one to demonstrate a situation of what happens when we have the advantage. Let's see how all their laser boats that were intended to defend against missiles, not 90-kilogram chunks of metal, do against all of this siege fire. Whoa, they've got some disco. As you can see, they have some disco boats of their own. It might be worth having a look at what the disco boats are and trying to eliminate them specifically. But I don't think they're going to be able to hold all this back. And to be honest, I think a lot of these boats are disco, as we said. That said, we're doing UV phaser damage, and some siege crawls are making it through, and they hurt. Enough PD, mate. And if we were using missiles, sure. Oops, slow this down. I don't think we're taking any hits. Looks like there's some focused magnetic fire down on the lower side of our formation. Makes sense against the ships in our force that have the least PD, which are the nuclear weapons carriers. But they still have 40 millimeters. And when they're dealing with magnetics from straight on, 40 millimeters creates this nice long line of intercepts. So against heavy magnetic rounds, even within the era of phaser PD, I do rate 40 millimeter. Lots of kills. Beautiful. And then what I might actually do is deactivate all the siege coils after these capital ships are destroyed and just take out the... we might take out the station just using lasers, just to save our ammo count for the next fleet engagement. I don't think we're going to run into ammo issues. We should be taking like 130, 140 siege coil rounds per vessel minimum, even on the ones that don't have extra magazines. But I'd rather have all the ammo I can possibly have. And I don't want to have to stop to set up a station, because that could take some time. That's the other option here. Instead of raiding, I could set up like a forward raiding station, a disposable forward base, and use that to resupply my ammo and fuel. But yeah, they're basically done at this point. We can speed this up. Most of their magnetics aren't even getting close enough for the 40mm because the Bushdoofs, with those forward IRs, they intercept even those chunky projectiles relatively early in phase. It will then take some time to drift in against the battle station, so I'll clip that because it's game has us some way away. Oh, we've got some reinforcements. No, those weren't reinforcements. These would have been like colony ships or backup, I imagine. All right, those siege coils are safed. Yeah, some of these Al-Ashgars that don't have the magazines are down to about 70 rounds, which is probably enough to fight an engagement, but not as many as I'd like to fight an engagement. Quick cleanup with the phasers, saving as much Delta V as possible. I extended radiators briefly to cool off any waste heat and then pulled them back in again before we're within range, which means that with the exception of a little bit of internal damage on some of the Bushdoofs, I think everything is pretty much there. That's a very small exotics haul, but then again, we weren't exactly impressed with those ship designs. We did, however, get a bunch of promotions. Propulsion, engineering, gunnery. That's what we're here for, harvesting all of that. So aliens lose 18 ships. We'll blow the HAB. We'll drop Marines on the base, I think. And then it's a question of, do we actually... The big play here would be to actually drop a platform. Drop a platform... 60 days, get a shipyard up, do a repair, refuel, rearm, even if the aliens blap the platform a little bit later on, and then try and take on that second major Saturn fleet, the 63 shipper. Because that has some ships that'll drop exotics, and here is why I know. I was scrolling through this and wondering why the most powerful ships in combat value in the Force were bloody tiny little interceptors, gunships. This is why. This is the new Autumn Dawn class gunship. I think we've seen them before, but I didn't notice their significance. Advanced alien fusion torch, excellent engine, bunch of alien exotic armor. So 3 exotics in the armor. Who knows how much exotics in the reactor? But this thing, 256 centimeter X-ray laser cannon. 9% armor effectiveness at 600 kilometers on a 2-slot laser. That's ludicrous. 1% armor effectiveness at 200 kilometers on a 2-slot laser. Absolutely bonkers. Long cooldown, 1.7 exotics per gun. So just in those small ships, there are some very high performance lasers. So flanking is going to be even more dangerous than it normally is. Fortunately, we have a lot of performance in this fleet. We can pull 4 Gs. So I am thinking that, yeah, let's destroy the station, let's drop the Marines, let's drop a platform. I don't think the aliens can get reinforcements here before I can make a move. And then we'll see if they keep their fleet here or not. Oh, wow, I realize there's actually 4 alien bases on this moon, on Tethys. So let's found a platform fusion.
Okay, verify your places. Water is in when you get a chance.
Fob Saturn.
Okay, that's verified.
How long is it going to take to get a heavy... This will be 60 days, won't it? Yeah, it will be 60 days. And that upgrade will be 60 days.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's nothing here that's actually useful. So let's go straight to the Tier 2 just in case we need it. Let's go a heavy fusion pile, 60 days. Let's grab a space dock, 60 days. 60 days, we will be able to rearm, refuel this force. We won't be able to build new ships practically, but let's hope the crew operating with a very basic facility are at least able to swap out a couple of damaged components that have been magnetically catapulted from shipyards elsewhere in the solar system. There'll be whole packets of heavy metal slugs that I think can be easily transported and reloaded. So thankfully, the damage control effort here isn't ridiculous. Okay, so they are now creating the station. Fantastic. Let's now drop Marines.
Fresh flag should clear.
Starting with
31
Obsidian
to
Sword
34.
Base. 6 days to drop.
O2 flag. O2
Drop,
at,
drop,
37.
drop. Marine combat on a moon of Saturn. When they say join the Marines, see the world, I'm not sure they normally meant that world. Okay, first base destroyed by Marines, 2.6 exotics claimed, not much. We no longer have Marines to drop on Shattered Tower or Obsidian Spear, but we do have the Marines to drop on Ocean Blade, so we'll drew that. Another 6 days. This is because we're expending Marine modules, but we'll be able to repair and reload those Marine modules as soon as that platform is online. So let's do that drop as well. And well-timed. Interrogation techniques. Don't think that applies to the Hydra, but cleaning out the tech. And like I said, whenever we take away alien bases, they shift away. So they are concentrating even more resources further out. Mining more on Umbriel. I reckon they'll fill these out as well. But I suspect that the Nobles revenue on these and the metals revenue and everything is not quite as good out here as what we're taking away from them. So we're slowly crunching the conventional supply of their economy. They'll continue to get the same amount of exotics. We know that. So what I'm hoping for is they build fewer ships because they have fewer conventional resources eventually, but they stuff them with more and more exotics modules. So we don't have to deal with large fleets, we have to deal with concentrated fleets of very good ships that we can beat up like nice little exotics pinatas. Okay, we have an alien force still around 250 patina, and the Earth Titan force, which is smaller than the Jupiter-based one, only 22 ships, and doesn't have any marine cruisers. I think it's got 3 marine cruisers, so not a huge marine complement so far, is available. So while the last marine ships are constructed, I think we go out to the mid-belt. We can burn 220 kps to get there in 5 weeks, which I think is perfectly fine by me. We get out there, we smack Stone Guardian Station. Specifically, I want to smack this fleet. And I'm going to target the fleet because that means that if it gets an evasion order, we'll know about it and we'll have a chance to alter our course. The fleet is the primary objective. The mine and the station are the secondaries in this case, because the fleet is made of exotics, whereas the station's to a much more limited extent. We've turned the servant again. Just good to keep intel up. Grabbing some points in Romania, and Greece is about to rejoin the European Union. Okay, and I think we have succeeded in kicking the hornet's nest. Victor 494 will now arrive in low Earth orbit in 29 October. If you're wondering what Victor 494 is, it's the Doomfleet. It's this. It's 94 alien ships. Absolutely ridiculous. And they're all about, you can see the engines firing up because I hit this as soon as I got the notification. They are all about to burn for Earth. They will get to there in October. So June, July, August, September, October. I think what we have to do is we have to basically pull the goalies. Task Force Earth is very large. It's 63 ships. It's going to be titanically outgunned, but we can do something with this. That production schedule, 5 months, isn't going to allow us to pump out larger ships. Not going to get them in time. But we can probably put out a whole bunch of extra monitors. Monitors and escort ships. So that at least we put more nukes on the field. Then the question is, can we pull resources from Mars or Mercury? The answer is probably yes. Task Force Mars doesn't have the KPS to get it to Earth, but some of the ships do. It's going to be a crawl at 23 KPS. But a bunch of the escorts could make it. The main force could make it by when? 61 weeks. Yeah, that's not the schedule we're working with here. But if we split the fleet, let's break off those escorts and the Jupiter-class Lancers, which are the ones with the 48 KPS. We split that off. I'm aware I have a mission control issue, but this is just experimentation. I could get back to Earth in 20 weeks. arriving 12 October. The enemy arrives 29 October. I can work with that. Let's set the alarm. So that's 11 extra ships. 2 old school Lancers, a bunch of Minutemen. I think everything helps at this point. So we'll fling it back to, we'll just sacrifice the resources, full burn back to Leo 2 shipyard, get there on the 12th, hopefully be able to repair and refuel on arrival, and then group up with our main force. I think we'll consolidate everything around one shipyard. So at the very least, Task Force Earth is at Leo 6. Mercury, the fleet's not in as good shape. 54 KPS on the escorts. I think, again, this is a case of we pull some of those Minuteman escorts. 5 weeks. Mate, we can give you all the time in the world. You want to get there in 11.6? I mean, at that point, we could basically pull the Mercury fleet, right? Although there's not much here. There's Pelicans and stuff. The only question is, would the aliens immediately send a fleet towards Mercury if we pull the Mercury defenses? But yeah, the Mercury, that's an idea. So we won't do it immediately. Let's not do it immediately. But if we give it a couple of weeks and then send the Mercury fleet, that'll get us numbers. That'll absolutely get us numbers. Jovian Response is going to arrive in July. That's going to add 18 additional ships. That combat value is understated because a lot of this stuff's damaged. But there are officers, there are some veteran ships in this lineup. Super Chicana will rip out the non-combat ships. In fact, what we'll do with the force in general is rip out the non-combat ships, bring the capitals together, and go with that. Okay, so I can pull another 18 ships, 31, 40, 50. So I'm up to about 110 ships. I don't like the idea of being matched with them 1 for 1, but we can fix that too. So if we go to Earth, I'm currently building a bunch of marine cruisers. I'm not sure that's the go. What does it take to build a monitor? Give me a minute. The answer is you can build a 3G acceleration, 30 forward armor, triple torpedo, double magazine monitor, the Scramble class, in 91 days. Will missiles do well against this kind of alien fleet? Not particularly. But more ships means we get more advantage on the battlefield in terms of how many ships we get to field at any given time versus how many ships they get to field at any given time. And if I bulk out the force, one, the missile ships can dump a massive salvo and then get off the field, but it also affects at any given time how many ships we're going to have relative to them. And what I want is the big gun balance to be in my favour. 91 days, June, July, August, September, October, we might be able to fit a line of escort ships in as well within the time limit. So we are setting up, no doubt, the biggest battle we'll play through. The aliens are coming for the Bifrost shipyard. They're coming for Earth. They're coming for the place that we will be constructing the colony ship that we are trying to escape on. And so we have no choice. We're going to have to fight that. This is a lot of exotics there. Meanwhile, for our offensive operation, we are able to resupply and repair. 62 days to repair, which is a big ask. Let's resupply first, because it's better be caught. I'd rather not be caught without ammunition and fuel, then we can worry about fixing up the ships. I think the aliens are standing and fighting, which is a good thing, unless they bailed. Nope, we're still seeing them. So we might have time to do a repair. We're also building some larger shipyards just in case this station lasts. So forward operating base Saturn is also building 2 shipyards and some layered defense arrays. So they'll be up in September. But this is all about timing at this point. Task Force Mercury, Earth 6, August. I think we wait one more month. I think in July we send whatever we dare send out of Mercury. And then I've also got militia ships that are constructing on Mercury as well. They'll be able to launch, resupply, and then we'll spend even more resources getting those to Earth on time. I've mentally created the goal of outnumbering the aliens somewhere between 1.5 and 2 to 1 when they arrive. That should mean that the engagement, if we do a 90-ship engagement, we should have 60 in the field versus 30 of theirs at any given time. And then hopefully we use that firepower advantage to outweigh the fact they're going to have the technological edge, because this isn't going to be our big Titan fleets with our cutting-edge tech. This is going to be stuff that's been around forever. This is the old Jacana, the classic Jacanas with Firestar engines. But you know, it is what it is. We've got a lot of promotions, a lot of officers, and at the end of the day, the gun is still the same. The gun is still the same. And a decade-old siege coiler is going to hit just as hard. So even if they're not as maneuverable, they're not as strategically useful, for holding Earth, they're going to be what we make do.
Even I know that a dying world isn't really one worth controlling. Chairman Soren van Wyk, Wall Street Journal op-ed. Renewables, from bogeyman to golden goose.
So there you go. Apparently the quote on climate change mitigation is actually the initiative, because they know if you wreck the Earth, it's not worth ruling it. So there we go. Thanks to clean fusion energy, carbon-based nanomaterials, development of genetically designed food sources, the damage we wreak upon our home daily may be drastically reduced. Reversing the changes will require further action. Gradually bring down the Earth's temperature. So sustainability values increase. Environment removes 10% more carbon dioxide, methane, nitrogen oxide. All oil regions are eliminated. Carbon recapture technologies may be researched. Fantastic. We can go space science again, like that, because that'll give us another mine and reduce this 72 tax that I'm paying, and I pay even more if I can activate more mines. So now we can go well above, we can go to 10, all the way to 10 on the environment, and then start actively rolling back global warming if we invest sufficiently in it. Meanwhile, the team we sent out to the belt to gather exotics from this alien fleet over here has arrived. This is the alien chase fleet. That said, we're only outnumbered slightly, 22 to 30. We have the slight combat power advantage. The alien ships aren't looking particularly intimidating, so this is a chance to test out our Titan designs, although admittedly this is mostly second-tier Titans. I didn't bring any of the ARC super phasers. I brought the standard ones. They're running. That's not unexpected. But this is the difference. This is the difference right here. Having antimatter engines means that you can have everything you want, including all that armor. So we jump into the battle. I'm dumping this after the fact. They're running, but as you can see, these aren't the bricks that we had when we were using the Poseidon torches. These are 4G combat acceleration capital ships, which means what we'll do is we'll quickly catch up to them. We don't want to overdo it in terms of velocity, because otherwise we'll overshoot the target. We don't want to do that, but we do want to catch up with them. And kill as many as we can before we starburst. So we're just going to close in. I'm not going to retract radiators until I'm sure I don't have to burn again, because the one way to generate a bunch of heat is to burn. Although I should look at that, because I think antimatter engines, the heat generation is pretty okay, at least compared to a lot of the fusion, closed cycle fusion engines. Anyway, missile allocation's done through the magic of time-lapse. Try and get as many kills as possible as soon as possible. There are no other alien fleets in the area, so may as well salvo a bunch of stuff off early. Magnetic's doing a great job of intercepting the big stuff, and it's just going to be my job to task the lasers to kill the small stuff, which is trying to peel off above and below the formation. But that's just going to be a target allocation job. As you can see here, I'm creating a control group so I can rapidly select and switch those lasers as needed. And through the magic of time-lapse, that is now done. So now I can basically hotkey select individual escorts and gunships that are breaking off from the formation to try and ping them with those, as you can see, UV arc lasers. Nukes are also going in and scoring a bunch of kills early on. I dedicate most of them to the big stuff, but I also send some of them against the smaller targets as well. I've just grown increasingly confident in the ability of the laser boats to knock out the smaller ships, and so I've decided to start spending more of my nukes rapidly destroying capital threats, which is what I'm doing here, because they're very effective at that when they're coupled with siege coils, and leaving the lasers to handle a lot of the smaller stuff. Any of the small stuff that does overrun us, we will be able to run down because we have the acceleration and delta V advantage. And this is the technological inflection point where we have equivalent protection, equivalent firepower in some respects. There are still some alien weapons we can't match. But we have good enough weapons, excellent protection, and we have more mobile vessels, at least on average. And it feels good because now we can dictate the engagements, we can choose to pursue or not pursue, we can run if we need to run, and we can also win the firepower fight once the battle begins, which is exactly what we're doing now. Allocate some more priority targets, and then in a moment, the cinematic destruction of this alien chase fleet can begin, and we'll see what the exotics haul is. You can see why I have added some amount of side armor to my Titans, because especially the laser boats that have to pivot to face shoot targets above or below our formation, at least from our frame of reference, they do tend to expose their side armor a bit to the primary formation, but that's where the torpedoes come in, right? Because they rip away a lot of those alien capital ships early, so there's no targets put on the flank. As for magnetics and missiles, point defense density is a thing. The Bushstuffs are legendary, and the ships have their own organic point defense if need be. So really it's only plasma and lasers that should be making impacts at this point, and a lot of the lasers are going to be busy with coil rounds. Now, you'll notice at this point we are getting close to the merge just because of the speed of the closing. That's okay, that's acceptable. It's just a function of the priority targeting, focusing on other things. One thing that I can do, or I would remind you to do in this situation, I'm not sure I remember to do it here or not, is the point defense vessels with those small one-slot forward lasers that are absolutely useless at range. At these sort of knife fight distances, it can sometimes be worth pulling those off Guardian mode onto offensive mode, or rather from defensive onto Guardian, because at 100 kilometers range, they can cut through side armor. And because they fire so frequently, you get a lot of shots out. So, yeah. Okay, we've got lasers and coils working together at this point. There's a Bushstuff closing in, and this is where I think I decide, hey, maybe I can priority target some of these lasers for really close range shooting. Unless they're using energy weapons, they're probably not going to break through our defenses at this point, so it's really just a case of knocking them out as effectively as possible. Titans, as you can see, do not turn quickly. It's the only thing I don't like about the chassis, but I don't dislike it so much that I'm willing to waste a utility module on the thing that allows them to rotate quicker, the vector thrusters or whatever it is. In any case, this is where I attempt to experiment with the point defense dreadnought by seeing if we can maybe use some of those lasers for offensive purposes instead. Unfortunately, the maneuver node is about as far away as it is possible to be, so the Araby is only going to start doing a flip about now, and there are other ships in our formation interested in destroying that vessel as well. So the Araby does start its little flip, but unfortunately, by the time it comes around to address the target, most of the work has already been done by other ships, and the distance is starting to grow. So, nice idea if I'd thought of it just a little bit earlier, but I didn't. As it is, though, that part of the alien formation is destroyed, and we're moving on to the last remnants that have been trying to run, but ultimately will not succeed. Just as a bit of a precaution, what I do is accelerate one magnetic titan ahead of the alien formation to then try and hook it round, with the idea being that if I can get the magnetic rounds ahead of them, I'll have more relative velocity. There's really no getting away at that point. Siege coils are going to have more success firing head-on than they are firing from behind, although we're still scoring impacts. I think part of it is at this point, a lot of those alien vessels will have lost propulsion, and unless they're willing to break formation, which they don't tend to like doing, they tend to like protecting wounded ships in the formation, the chances of them dodging just goes down significantly. So at this point, with the formation drifting forward, it's pretty much all she wrote. There are 2 battleships left on the field that we need to destroy, which are nice for exotics harvesting purposes, but mostly this is a great opportunity to A, gather those exotics that we need for the Exodus project, and also to level up some officers, because level ups are... And I remember that. Oh, I was so annoyed at that point. That was a collision, as you saw, I believe. That was pure mispiloting on my part, the Tsarevich being lost. Pure pilot error. I should have seen that collision. I got lazy because I thought the battle was already over. I could easily have navigated around that. So that lost ship is very much on my hands as a commander. It could have been avoided. And it ruined the perfect record. Plenty of promotions, 50.7 exotics, a clean sweep on the alien fleet with the exception of one lost ship, Pisarevich, due to an impromptu ramming attack or unintended ramming attack against Hydra vessels. Your ships will automatically avoid collisions with themselves. They won't automatically avoid collisions with Hydra vessels. So Project Exodus loses one ship, the aliens lose 30, and magically we have the 401.2 exotics we need. So I can drop the Marines, destroy the mine on Bettina. But then I think about it for a moment. I'm like, wait a minute. I can go smack the fleet that's here. That'd be nice. But there's also the prospect of potentially transferring home in time. This is a very mobile force. So the question is, do I have the days to drop Marines? Do I have the time? Do I want to take the risk of going and blapping any survivors? And how do I balance that against getting back to Earth on time to potentially help in the defense? Because the ships we just have, they're a bunch of undamaged top-tier Titans now with their first promotions. We're looking for the Interstellar Launch Facility. There it is. 400 exotics about to go down the drain. But as a bonus, we do get to shoot Al-Ashgar off with the colonists, which will, I assume, put the fleet command wing and the rest of Exodus in command of the rest of the organization when he's gone. In fact, he'll probably be busy with the construction process from this point on. So I like to imagine from a headcanon perspective that the director's supervision of the Exodus fleet and its military strategy probably ends at about this point, and the rest of the organization is just like, yeah, let's just get the billionaires onto the colony ship, and then we'll go back to harvesting exotics and saving the solar system so that we can launch an actually useful number of colonists and preferably save Earth while we're at it. So it gets 12.6 weeks to get belts of resources, that Titan fleet home in time, which is quick enough. That is the 26th of September. So I think I set an arrival time of 3rd October compared to the Aliens 21 October. So we'll actually get that Titan fleet back as well. So suddenly we're pulling a lot of our resources back to Earth and they'll get there in time, courtesy of those advanced antimatter torches. Earth won't be as undefended as it was when the aliens sent their Doom fleet in that direction. The Mercury reinforcements, 19 ships are also on the way. They're due in mid-September, so plenty of time to spare for them to refuel and join the primary fleet. So we'll get the Belt Resources Titans, we'll get the Mercury reinforcements, the Mars reinforcements, new constructions from Mercury, new constructions from Mars, new constructions from Earth. Meanwhile, we can dispatch even more reinforcements, freshly produced Titans to reinforce our presence in Saturn. Because it's becoming clear at this point that we're not looking at a raid. We're planning to stay up the population, hit our house rule goal of population moving up to resorts, hotels, etc. But to do that, we need enough Titans present to be able to take on the alien force of now 70 plus ships that's present in the area. We can do that with just a couple of reinforcements. So they are all progressively being sent on their way. This is an extra 4 ships. So we'll pipe them through to forward operating base Saturn. And as you can see, a full burn gets you there in 4 weeks. We don't need a full burn most of the time, but at the same time, I don't worry too much about doing full burns at this stage because it's not actually that many propellant tanks and it's mostly water. So going places fast is fully acceptable. It's more a case of how long it takes to refuel the damn things when they get to the other side. Because remember, 1 propellant tank, that 10 water, that's 100 tons of water. It's not a small exercise. But out of everything, it's probably exotics that are the main limiter because we're going to want to build more colony ships at this point. We have a good supply of antimatter coming in, which makes me feel great. So volatiles is probably gating more construction, and then in the future, it's going to be nobles. It's already clear because we'll be able to up our volatiles production by using mines in Saturn mines. We won't be able to do the same with our nobles. So I'm going to have to be creative, see if I can eke out more nobles production anywhere. But as it is, we might be a bit gated. And as I prepare to close out the episode, our bonus event is Xenomegafauna emerging from the depths of the ocean to attack the United States and North America. I think they're specifically going for Saddle. So we'll bring in the US military, and also we have giant orbital laser guns still available. So orbital bombardment there should assist in quickly cleaning that up. Yes, I'm still using the Abrams in 2040 because I have put 0 priority on military investment in this game because offensive wars were banned and therefore there was no need. US military was strong enough to handle assault carriers, so we'll just split the orbital bombardment vessel off from the main Task Force Earth and then rain some lasers from above. All right. Pew Pew will now commence. That should cut down the health relatively quickly. Monitors are being launched. We'll merge them in with the fleet. And suddenly, Task Force Earth won't be looking so outnumbered. Alien Beastie destroyed, so we can path all the US military units home. I think some of them didn't even have time to arrive. They're probably annoyed because they haven't done anything for the moment, or at least for a long, long time. They got to be the heroes of the hour when the assault carriers were landing, but at this point, they're mostly obsolete. I've abolished most core in most of the countries I control, leaving one just so they can declare war if they absolutely need to. And the US military has been slightly downscaled. But, as we can see, there's a reason we keep at least some of them around. But in closing, we'll have a nice little victory lap over at Callisto because population has reached 67,000, which means it's time to score another win for the House Rules that says hotel and health facilities around at least one per every major planet that we're going for. So for Jupiter, it will be Callisto because it's the only place without radiation, so we actually can build the health facility. Slap some heavy fusion reactor farms on the thing. And then we'll build a nice little balance facility, agriculture so that we don't have to pay too many water and volatiles. We'll throw a space resort on, add a space hospital as well, and that will be the objective done. And then I can fill out the rest of the modules with basically anything. Life science, more agriculture, they can hang around like that. Maybe some marines to keep them in line, play corporate security as it were. Some defensive facilities just in case the aliens get ideas. You get the idea. So we'll fill this station out, and then once it completes, that'll be another part of our house rule objectives that we can cross off. And with that station now firmly in construction, I think we can wind it up there. We have our first colony ship in construction, which means next episode, at least on paper, we should win the game in more ways than one. Firstly, we'll fulfill our formal objective by launching the ship, and the other way by flinging Al-Ashgar and his billionaire friends off into the void so we can get about the real work of sending, more normal people in sufficiently large numbers, and also cleaning up the solar system a bit to harvest the exotics necessary to do it. We also need to move out to places like Neptune because we need to colonize those too, get the population counts up. So not only do we need the exotics from there and to kick the aliens out in order to harvest them, we want to push up the population numbers. As you can see, there's 318,000 people currently living in space. We're going to push that number north of 500,000 minimum. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you're looking forward to more space operations next time and the Exodus.